My name is Vanessa Carter, and for years I believed my husband and I were the kind of couple other people secretly envied. We lived in Los Angeles, California, in a luxury apartment overlooking the city skyline. My husband Adrian worked in high-end real estate, and I worked as an interior designer. From the outside, our life looked glamorous: vacations, rooftop parties, expensive dinners, anniversary photos online that made strangers think we were deeply in love. But perfect relationships usually hide the deepest cracks. Adrian and I met when I was 26. He was confident, charming, and magnetic in a way that pulled attention naturally. Back then, he made me feel special. Seen. Important. For years, I believed that feeling was love. And maybe part of it was. But over time, I started noticing something unsettling about him. Adrian loved attention almost as much as he loved success. He loved luxury, admiration, compliments, and beautiful people surrounding him constantly. Somewhere along the way, I stopped feeling like his wife. I started feeling like part of his image. Still, we had good moments. Some nights he still made me laugh until I cried. Sometimes we'd sit on our balcony talking about the future the way we used to. Then other times, he felt emotionally unreachable. Like he was pretending intimacy instead of actually feeling it. One Friday evening, Adrian surprised me with a luxury weekend trip to Miami for our 7th anniversary. At first, I felt hopeful again. Maybe this trip was exactly what we needed. Time away from stress. Time to reconnect before the distance between us became permanent. Miami felt alive that weekend. Warm ocean air, music echoing through crowded streets, neon lights reflecting across wet pavement after short rainstorms. The first night felt almost perfect. We had dinner beside the beach. Adrian held my hand across the table the way he used to years earlier. For the first time in months, I genuinely believed we might find each other again. Then around midnight, Adrian suggested we visit an exclusive nightclub downtown. Normally I would have refused. I was tired, and honestly, clubs had started exhausting me years ago. But Adrian looked excited. Happy. So I agreed. That decision changed everything. The club was packed with wealthy tourists, influencers, models, and people desperately trying to look important. Loud music shook the walls while flashing lights moved across crowded bodies dancing together. Adrian instantly transformed in that environment. Confident. Energetic. Alive. Women noticed him constantly. Men greeted him loudly from across the room. And honestly, part of me realized he looked more comfortable there than he ever did at home with me anymore. Then sometime after midnight, Adrian leaned close to my ear and smiled. "You should dance with him." I laughed immediately, thinking he was joking. But he nodded toward a tall stranger standing near the bar watching us. "I'm serious." My smile disappeared slowly. "What?" "Relax," Adrian said casually. "It's harmless." Something about his tone unsettled me immediately. The stranger walked over moments later. Adrian introduced him as Lucas. Tall. Calm. Attractive in a quiet way completely different from Adrian's loud confidence. And before I could fully process what was happening, Adrian placed his hand gently against my back and guided me toward the dance floor beside another man. At first, I felt awkward. Uncomfortable. Lucas kept a respectful distance while we danced, but every few seconds I looked back toward Adrian sitting at the table watching us carefully. And the expression on his face disturbed me more than jealousy ever could have. Because he didn't look angry. He looked excited. That was the exact moment I realized something inside our marriage was far more broken than I ever imagined. After a few songs, I returned to our table feeling uneasy. "That was weird," I told Adrian quietly. He laughed and handed me another drink. "You overthink everything." But deep down, I already knew something wasn't right. As the night continued, Adrian became stranger. More reckless. He disappeared repeatedly to talk with random people, while Lucas somehow always remained nearby. Then around 2 in the morning, Adrian leaned close again, and whispered something that made my stomach drop. "You should go upstairs with Lucas." I stared at him in disbelief. "What?" "There's a private rooftop lounge upstairs," he said casually. "Just relax. Have fun." I honestly thought I misunderstood him. "You want me to leave with another man?" Adrian smiled slightly. "It's harmless. No husband says something like that unless something inside him has already changed." Lucas immediately noticed my discomfort. "You don't have to," he said quietly. But the damage was already done. Back at the hotel later that night, Adrian finally admitted the truth. He liked watching other men desire me. Not touch me. Not sleep with me. Just want me. And somehow he convinced himself it would make our marriage exciting again. Listening to him explain it made me feel sick. Not because I was jealous. Because suddenly I realized how emotionally empty our relationship had become. We weren't reconnecting anymore. We were performing. Trying desperately to create excitement where intimacy no longer existed naturally. The argument lasted until sunrise. For the first time in years, I looked at my husband and felt afraid of how little I recognized him. When we returned to Los Angeles, everything between us felt different. The silence became unbearable. Adrian apologized constantly, but his apologies felt incomplete because the problem wasn't only that night. The problem was understanding how lonely we had already become long before Miami happened. Then one evening, something worse happened. I received a message from Lucas. At first, I ignored it. The message was simple. Because he was right. And the terrifying part was realizing a complete stranger noticed my loneliness faster than my own husband did. I should have blocked him immediately. Instead, I replied. At first, the conversation seemed harmless. Then emotional. Then dangerous. Lucas listened in ways Adrian stopped listening years earlier. And without realizing it, I began emotionally drifting toward someone else. That terrified me. Because suddenly I understood how affairs actually begin. Not with passion. With loneliness. One night Adrian saw Lucas's name appear on my phone. And the expression on his face changed instantly. For the first time since Miami, I finally saw real fear in him. "Are you talking to him?" he asked quietly. I couldn't answer honestly. Because yes. I was. And suddenly Adrian realized the dangerous game he created was no longer under his control. The months after Miami nearly destroyed our marriage completely. Therapy became our last attempt to save whatever remained between us. And for the first time in years, Adrian finally admitted something painful. He was terrified of becoming ordinary. That fear controlled everything, his obsession with attention, luxury, validation, excitement. Even me. Especially me. Somewhere along the way, he stopped seeing me as a partner, and started seeing me as proof of his success. And I stopped feeling loved. I started feeling displayed. Meanwhile, I admitted my own truth. I liked the way Lucas made me feel emotionally understood. And if things continued much longer, I honestly don't know how far it would have gone. That realization frightened both of us. Because emotional betrayal often begins long before physical betrayal ever happens. It begins in silence. In distance. In feeling unseen. A year later, Adrian and I are still together. But not because love magically fixed everything. Because we finally stopped pretending. We stopped performing happiness for strangers online and started confronting the loneliness hiding inside our marriage. That night in Miami changed us forever. Not because I danced with a stranger. But because my husband accidentally revealed how emotionally lost we had already become long before the music ever started. And honestly, that truth hurt more than betrayal ever could.